The tax for tolls issue on the ballot has brought out the most voters in over 12 years.
I'm Jim Piggott. I'll show you how Jacksonville's reacting to this controversial book on AIDS.
And I'm Kathy Turner. Today's weather may have been super, but it's coming to an end before the day's end.
You're watching WJKS, Channel 17, home of Newswatch Jacksonville. News with Debbie Ferraro and Doug McElway. AccuWeather with Kathy Turner. Sports with Irv White. And now, Newswatch Jacksonville.
The tax for tolls issue generates heavy voter turnout in Jacksonville, and our pollsters come up with a big surprise. Good evening, I'm Debbie Ferraro.
And I'm Doug McElway. Super Tuesday got off to a bang in Duval County and never stopped today. Voter apathy, not a problem, as officials estimate a 45% voter turnout. And one issue seems to be on the voters' minds over all other issues. Derek Hayward is here with more.
Well, Doug, you can sum up the big item on this ballot in one word: tolls. Today, Duval County turned out the highest percentage of voters in the whole state of Florida. And granted, this is the first time in 8 years we get to see who we'd like to see as a new president. And the West Side is voting to fill a state House seat. But Newswatch pollsters found that far and away the hot item is tax or tolls. Mayor Hazuri was among the first-hour voters this morning. A busier than usual first hour all over town.
This morning at 9:30, we had over 12%. That was out of just 31 precincts.
Here on the right.
Momentum kept up, and officials predict that when the dust settles, 45% of Duval County's 281,000 voters will have made it to the ballot box. That 45% compares to only 32% during the last presidential election, and it's the best turnout since 1976.
May I ask how you voted today?
Newswatch pollsters found that one issue seemed to be the driving force today.
The toll booths and the taxes.
It's the taxes against the tolls.
I would say the tolls. As a matter of fact, some folks won't even give me an opinion on their presidential preference, but they'll volunteer their issue, their opinion on the issue for tax for tolls.
Whatever the reason for the high turnout, some political scientists think the high volume means a more unpredictable result.
When you have larger numbers of people turning out than was expected, you have a lot more volatility in the electorate. A lot of people who haven't really thought out the issues too much but are just responding on the basis of fear or something like that.
And if our Newswatch pollsters are reading it right, unpredictable is a major understatement. We can't tell you what our pollsters have found until after the polls close at 7 because we don't want to influence the vote. But Doug, I can tell you that when we release what we have found at 7 o'clock, you're all in for a big surprise.
Okay, and Derek, we'll report that big surprise, as you said, at 7 o'clock tonight as soon as we are able to. And a little later in the show, we'll be hearing from our political consultants on what they think the heavy turnout means to the ballot.
Voter turnout in St. Johns County may be even heavier than it is in Duval. They're deciding on a 1-cent local option sales tax, money the county says it needs to pay for tremendous growth. The money would go for a jail, sewers, roads, recreation, among other things. The supervisor of elections there is predicting a hefty 60 to 65% turnout, although admits that may be high. And voting in Miami is also heavy. Voters not only making their choice in the presidential primary, they're also deciding a $1 billion school bond issue, one of the largest in the country. The money will help pay for 49 new schools and for major additions to 160 existing schools. Schools there are so crowded, some classes are held on auditorium stages. Many blacks oppose the bond issue, saying most of the money will help white neighborhood schools. The school board says that's not true.
Our minority set-aside program will provide equal distribution, fair distribution among the different minorities in the community.
School officials say nearly half of the schools built will be in black neighborhoods. And Duval County voters got a chance to lower something today, the state's high malpractice insurance awards.
Many of them were asked to sign a petition that would allow them to put a cap on those awards when they vote in November. And as Dan Scanlon shows us, the constitutional question met with some support from Jacksonville's voters.
This is what this is about.
What, malpractice?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, fabulous. I tried to call.
This is what many of Florida's voters faced as they left their polling places today, a petition drive by members of the Florida Medical Association. The Florida Medical Association had volunteers out at 1/3 of all of Jacksonville's polling places today. They say they need your signature so they can get something on the November ballot.
It will allow us to place on the ballot in November a proposed constitutional amendment limiting the amount that can be awarded for non-economic damages in lawsuits to $100,000.
For the past year, Florida's doctors have resorted to threats of halting emergency surgery, marching through Florida's cities, and appeals to the legislature to lower high malpractice insurance rates. Only a month and a half ago, the legislature in special session capped awards for pain and suffering to $350,000. But now the FMA says they want it lower, and the legislative action isn't enough.
No, it wasn't, unfortunately. The problem is that the legislature made a good start, but the caps that they enacted were too low, and we don't know whether or not they're going to be held as being constitutional.
I don't agree with it.
Attorney Eddie Farah handles personal injury cases. He says putting a cap on pain and suffering means taking the process out of the hands of the people who usually award it, the jury.
Doctors have stepped in and for some reason have designated themselves as some sort of privileged class whereby they feel they're entitled to some sort of immunity.
The FMA has to get 350,000 signatures verified to get on the ballot, but if it's passed, they say people will see medical insurance drop soon. Dan Scanlon, Newswatch, Jacksonville.
But the state's medical association is not the only group trying to get a constitutional amendment. The Florida English Campaign is ending a 3-year signature drive to get their own question on the November ballot. It's to make English the official Florida language. They're almost halfway to their goal of 342,000 signatures needed to get it on the ballot.
It's been the goal of local health officials to educate people about the spread of AIDS. But now some claim all their work could be set back by a report released this week which says AIDS can be spread by social contact. Newswatch reporter Jim Pickett is here to show us what the local reaction has been. Jim?
Well, Debbie, this book, Crisis, Heterosexual Behavior in the Age of AIDS, it just hit the book stands today. In fact, here in Jacksonville, it came out this afternoon. But excerpts from this have been in Newsweek magazine this week, and the reaction from it has been very interesting because the authors, Master and Johnson, are so popular.
Well, I've heard so many things. I heard you can get it from mosquitoes biting somebody and being transmitted by blood, and I just believe that it's gone rampant.
It's rumors like that local health officials have been trying to kill for years. And now the two highly respected authors are claiming that you can get AIDS through simple social contact. They say it's only adding to a growing hysteria.
And all of a sudden we have one splash in the media from some people who have some reputation. The information doesn't fit with what we've learned over years and years' time. Suddenly the public is saying things like, I believe what these two people just said, when they're not looking at the big picture, and that's important.
In the book, Masters and Johnson's claim health officials have seriously underestimated the extent of AIDS among heterosexuals. They claim it's been to avoid panic.
Scares me.
Why so?
Well, if the government's hiding it and we could all get AIDS.
The book even goes as far as suggesting you can get AIDS from kissing and even from toilet seats, but not everyone is willing to buy that.
In the Navy, we have a pretty good education program on this sort of thing, and we don't feel at all that casual contact will cause AIDS to be spread.
Now, not all the reaction has been negative. In fact, some have said just how much the disease has spread is debatable, but they also say that it's forcing the people to take notice, and if they're taking precautions, that might do some good.
Good point. Thanks very much, Jim.
Well, Clay County commissioners were swift to react to today, not to that book, but they did react to our story last night about Clay County's rapidly shrinking fire department. Reporter Derek Hayward showed how 25% of Clay County's firefighters are leaving to join the Jacksonville Fire Department instead. That's because Jacksonville pays a lot more for firefighters and paramedics. Well, today, the Board of Commissioners referred the problem to its Personnel Committee. Next week, that committee is charged with finding extra money to stop some of the exodus. Well, there was no shortage of nice weather in our area today. Kathy joins us now with our first AccuWeather forecast to tell us if we can expect more of this.
Well, voting today, certainly no problem. A little spring fever out there. I'm afraid it's coming to an end. We do have clouds moving in this direction, much of the area already under that cloud cover, and there's a possibility later on tonight that we could see some showers. Now, I don't expect that these would be terribly heavy, but because of the cloud cover, we'll stay about 10 degrees warmer, 56 the expected low, and warming up to around 80 degrees tomorrow with winds gusting up to 20 miles an hour. Tomorrow, there is a chance that we could see some very heavy showers and thunderstorms, hail, and strong winds. I'll show you what's causing all that and take you through the rest of the week when we come back.
Okay, Kathy, we'll see you then. Coming up next on Newswatch, we'll go live to New York to see how preparations are going for NBC's exit polling results.
And we'll hear from some local experts on activity at the polls today when we return.
Once Orrin gets on his Murray, you just can't pry him off. But don't you worry, our dinner reservations aren't till 9 anyway.
When you pay good money, you want a good mower. Murray mowers are as tough and dependable as they come. Cutting
quality at your price.
A lot of banks talk about how big and important they are, as if all they want is to control your nest egg.
We are banking power, the bank of the state. Place your egg.
If your bank is only interested in feathering its nest, there is a good reason to change.
You don't know how I like my eggs.
Florida National Bank. Expect more from us.
We want to remind you about our special election coverage on the tax for tolls issue and the primaries. Decision 88 gets underway tonight at 8 p.m. And serving as commentators and analysts for us tonight will be two experts in state and local politics, former state legislator and gubernatorial candidate Steve Padgett and longtime political advisor Jack Newsom. Both have stepped into our studio for some first impressions on the way things are shaping up thus far. Gentlemen, any surprises yet?
Well, Jack and I were just talking, and we say this turnout shows you that politics begins at home. And there's nothing more important in politics than the pocketbook.
That's exactly true, and also patience. And I think that the patience goes with all the people who lost it, waiting at the bridges for tolls.
You know, this vote, too, is going to tell us a lot, not only about our roads and our bridges, but about the future of our administration with our mayor.
Well, by all means, I think that, that largely the success, if we are going to assume success for the defeat of the tolls, it's going to belong almost 100% to Tommy. He has simply, by his own sheer force of personality and determination, simply driven this home to the people of Jacksonville.
Jack, you may even have to start calling him the mayor instead of Tommy.
Right, absolutely.
And, you know, this presidential race, I got a feeling that we may know who the nominees are going to be for both parties after this vote tonight.
I would say that the precincts here that we have in Jacksonville, by looking at those, they seem to have a very good habit of going the way the nation goes. But I think we can talk a lot more about this later on as the evening goes.
It's going to be a good night.
We certainly will. We thank you very much, and remind the voters that the polls are open for another 45 minutes yet. Mr. Padgett and Mr. Newsom, thanks very much. We'll be hearing a lot more from you tonight at 8 p.m. as our special gets underway.
And as part of our election special tonight at 8 o'clock, we'll be going live to NBC Network headquarters in New York City, where John Nicholson will be reporting on NBC's exit polling for Florida. John joins us live from New York now to give us an idea of what the network is doing to prepare for tonight's coverage. John?
Well, Debbie, of course, there is very, very much to be covered tonight. NBC has committed hundreds of people and millions of dollars worth of equipment to covering the primaries and the caucuses in Florida and the other states around the country where the voting is going on. Here in Rockefeller Center in New York is where it all comes together. NBC News, of course, will have a special one-hour Super Tuesday report at 10 o'clock tonight. In the meantime, as we wait for the polls to close, they're taking a look at the exit polling, and we should know very early after the polls close just who are the winners and who are the losers, Debbie.
Exactly, John. How early do you think we'll know the results of NBC's exit polling?
Well, of course, the polls close at 7 o'clock in Jacksonville. We should have that for you very shortly afterwards. I expect to see you at about 7, then again at 8 o'clock on our special, Debbie.
Thanks very much, John Nicholson, reporting live from NBC headquarters in New York City. And when Newswatch continues, a look at Kathy's forecast. Can we expect clouds or sunshine?
And pizza for hundreds, a food feast for the homeless. We'll tell you about it when we come back.
Eureka! The Players' Championship.
I'm Billy Walker, inviting you to see the first major tournament of the year, the Players' Championship with over 100 PGA Tour professionals. Tickets are on sale now at all First Union offices or call the Chamber. See the strongest field in golf, the Players' Championship.
For all the people who hate their old heat pump, who've had it with high energy bills, who can't handle yet another breakdown, and who won't go through another problem-filled summer. We offer the Trane $150 rebate. Buy a Trane XL 1200 Weathertron heat pump, the heat pump with a 10-year warranty, and get your $150 rebate now.
For more details, call Indoor Comfort Incorporated.
The Little Caesars Love Kitchen made another stop in Jacksonville today, helping to feed the hungry. Pizza was served at the Clara White Mission as part of an ongoing effort by Little Caesars to provide nutritious meals to soup kitchens. This mission usually serves anywhere from 300 to 360 people a day. And with the help of Little Caesars, over 600 people in the Jacksonville and South Georgia area are being served in a 3-day period. And tomorrow, the Love Kitchen will be at the Senior Nutrition Center in Overland Park.
It was a near perfect day. For some people, perfect.
It was. I've been buried in my typewriter all afternoon. I didn't see that it's suddenly overcast
Yeah,
out
the
there.
clouds have definitely moved in, but it has been a perfect day. Those clouds, a precursor to what we're going to have the next couple of days. And already there are showers out in the Panhandle. There's a possibility that we could see it in here later tonight. Could wake up to it in the morning hours, but I'd say definitely during the late afternoon hours, early evening hours, and even through Thursday, we are going to see some showers. Some of them could be on the heavy side. Well, today we had lots of sunshine, but again, right now it's cloudy out there. The current temperature dropped off to 65 degrees. Humidity 58%. The winds are out of the east now at 8 miles an hour. The barometer is on the fall. 30.20, and the air quality today, 55, ozone. Now, across our viewing area, folks have called in with a few temperatures for us. They're in the 60s and the 70s. Out to the west, the mid-70s out in Glen St. Mary. They've got some of their azaleas just about ready to start blooming. Out to the southwest, Gainesville, 74 degrees. And right along the coastline, temperatures in the mid and upper 60s. Down in Daytona, 71 degrees. Clouds have moved in all over our viewing area, and I think that we're going to see showers move in late tonight or in the early morning hours. The heaviest activity is still sitting out in eastern sections of Texas and over through Louisiana. And you can see it extends up through the central Great Lakes, and we can add our cold front in and see what's really motivating the change in weather. We've got kind of a warm, moist situation ahead of the front. Back behind it, temperatures are not radically cooler, but it is much drier. The contrast there is creating the shower activity. Well, tomorrow morning at about 7 o'clock, I think that we're going to see this low pressure system move up towards the north and the northeast, but it will be replaced by another area of low pressure. All of this moving in our direction gives us a continual chance of rain tomorrow. In fact, the closer it gets, the better the odds for rain. By tomorrow evening at around 7 o'clock, roughly 24 hours from now, we're going to see that center of low pressure sitting out in the Panhandle of Florida, once again giving us a pretty good shot at rain. I'd say rain is definite, but there's also the possibility of some pretty gusty winds and some hail coming along with these showers, downpours at times. So the next 24 to 36 hours, we are going to get wet. Let's take a look at the Mariners forecast. I expect to have some light to moderate chop develop over the course of the day tomorrow. Winds out of the south and southeast at around 10 to 20 knots. Those seas 4 to 7 feet. Your surf 2 to 3 feet. And the surf temperature today, 59 degrees. There's your high and low tide for tomorrow. Sun comes up, and we're not going to see a lot of it, at 6:44. It'll go down again tomorrow evening at 6:31. Now, again, there's a possibility that we could see some rain in here later tonight or early in the morning hours. But definitely from tomorrow through Thursday, temperatures, while they stay mild, we are going to stay on the wet side. Overnight lows probably about 10 to 15 degrees warmer than we've seen earlier in the week, in the 50s, and probably around 60 degrees on Thursday. Again, I would say that tomorrow in the late afternoon or evening hours, we're going to see some gusty winds, maybe 30 to 40 miles an hour, some hail develop, and maybe some downpours. So this is just a borderline situation, almost constitutes severe weather. So we'll be watching it very carefully, but drying out by the end of the week.
If it's got to rain, it's nice to have the rain in the week instead of the weekend.
That's right, and done with the voting, too.
Yeah, right, exactly.
When Newswatch continues, can the Bulls basketball team break the Jacksonville jinx?
Fish will explain right after the break.
My mom saved my life, and I hated her for it. See?
Down at Steve Hall Chevrolet, Arlington Expressway in Jacksonville.
On Magnum, Lacona winds affect an eerie change on Thomas.
You found me. Nothing else matters.
It's seduction.
My husband's going to kill me. Nobody ever crosses Sam. Nobody ever outsmarts him.
That leads to robbery, adultery, and deceit.
Thomas, you must kill him. It's our only chance.
He doesn't have it in him. Murder for Lust on Magnum.
A special episode tonight at 9 on Channel 17.
There's good news in our video notes tonight for those of you with lots of letters to mail before Easter. The Postal Service said today it won't be until after Easter that 25-cent stamps will be required on letters. Until then, you can use the 22-cent stamps you still have around the house. There were plenty of celebrities around the White House today when President Reagan welcomed the U.S. Winter Olympic team. Mr. Reagan told the team there had been too much talk about the number of medals won and said every team member should be proud of their performance. The Gators missing one of their players.
That's right, but I guess a lot of people are thinking that Florida's loss may be JU's game.
Because Chris Capers is from Jacksonville, a lot of people might think that he would go to JU, but I'm not so sure that Rich Haddad would want to give up a scholarship for a kid that would come in and play 1 year, but anyway, we don't know. Former Reball standout Chris Capers was given an option by Gator coach Norman Sloan yesterday. Forget what's happened in the past or to quit now and transfer. Capers chose the latter and is no longer a member of the Florida basketball team. Sloan said he had been hearing for some time now that the junior forward was unhappy. Capers had an outstanding sophomore season, leading the SEC in field goal percentage. He started 12 games this season until he was removed from the lineup last week against Vanderbilt. If Capers does transfer, he would have to sit out a year. JU official says Capers has not contacted them, but you can be sure that Haddad will make an effort to talk with Capers, who averaged only 3 points and 3 rebounds, but was an outstanding defensive player. Former LSU basketball player Don Redden, who led his team to a Final Four appearance just 2 years ago, died of an apparent heart attack today at the age of 24. Now, Redden had remained close to the LSU basketball program. He was in the locker room after the Tigers win over Florida this past Sunday. His death comes just 2 months after the death of another LSU great, Pete Maravich. Not since Paxson High School, way back in the early 60s, has the high school boys basketball team from Jacksonville won a state championship. This year, 2 teams, Ribault and Bowles, are in the Final Four in Class 3A and 2A and are hoping to bring home a state trophy. Tonight, Mike Lyons takes a look at the Bowles Bulldogs and their coach Buddy Ward, who knows better than anyone else the frustration of the Jacksonville Jinx.
It's because of plays like that that the Bowles Bulldogs have won 26 games this season and lost but 1. The Bulldogs won the sectional championship Friday night with a come-from-behind 1-point victory over Keystone Heights, sending Coach Buddy Ward to the state Final Four for the 6th time in his career at Bowles. Ward says this year's team is a young one. Only one senior, Kevin Kirkheide, is on the starting 5. But he likes his team's chances of winning the Class 2A title.
We can have 1 or 2 players not have a good night, but we got some others that can pick up the slack. So as a whole, we're overall pretty well balanced. And even though they're relatively young, we've played with pretty good maturity for the year.
If we continue to play the defense and offense, get the offense going, there's nothing that can stop us, I don't think.
I think we got a good chance. We play together well. We can run, we can play set-up offense, play good D, and I think all those 3 things can add up to a state championship.
Reaching the state Final Four is one great accomplishment, but winning it all is one tough task. Bowles was in the Final Four 5 years in a row from 1981 to 1986, but they've never won a state championship.
Seems like we're about due. People keep talking, you know, about jinx or, you know, frustrating, and it is a little bit frustrating that you can't win the big one and all, but as I've said all along, I'd much rather be there playing for it than be back at home.
The Bulldogs are hoping their luck will finally turn around and they can win it all. To do that, they'll have to win 2 games in Lakeland. The first one Thursday night at 7 against Chipley, the final set for Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock. At Bowles, Mike Lyons, Newswatch, Jacksonville.
The American Bowling Congress Tournament still going strong down at the Convention Center. The tournament runs 103 days. This is day number 24. Bowlers from all over the United States and 8 foreign countries are knocking down pins from 7:30 in the morning until 1:30 in the morning. The individual and all events leader is Rick Steelsmith out of Wichita, Kansas, with 2,053 points. He bowled in the tournament's 2nd and 3rd days, and it has held up to this point. But the people close to the situation now, they say they think that will be beat. We'll have more in the bowling tonight at 11.
Look forward. Thank you, Fish.
Well, coming up after the break, we'll tell you about a musical campaign that's underway in Duval County.
It's a campaign to just say no when we return.
The Chic. Quality food at quality prices, like this delicious 100% pure beef giant hamburger for only 89 cents. Taste it at The Chic now. There's a Chic near you.
Got a different kind of face, a different kind of smile, a different kind of grace. I go in my own face. I got a different kind of style.
At Pearl, we find out what makes you different. That's what makes us different. You not only get your glasses fast, you get just what you're looking for.
I got a different kind of style.
Truck buyers, we asked Ford truck owners to test drive the all-new 1988 Chevrolet full-size pickups. The first new full-size trucks in this decade, the 1988 Chevy pickups have more power, state-of-the-art suspension, a quieter cab, bigger payload. The 88 Chevy trucks at your Jacksonville Big 5 Chevy dealers. Take a test drive and the heartbeat will change the way you think.
My next truck, if I was going to buy it tomorrow, would be an 88 Chevrolet.
We'll have a Super Tuesday wrap-up tonight at 11 on Night Watch, along with analysis of why we voted the way we did.
Then Dr. Dina Dell will have a report on why some people have a weight problem from the time they're children.
We hope you'll join us for an expanded version of Night Watch, again at 11.
More and more Jacksonville youngsters are saying no to drugs.
Greenfield Elementary School kids have been a part of the Just Say No effort for 2 years now, but today they unveiled their banner, telling the community and our own Kathy Turner, who is chairman of the Duval County Just Say No campaign, that they're striving for a drug-free life. Representatives from each grade told why they're saying no to drugs, and they even sang their opposition to drugs. You may have noticed kids with buttons from the campaign. They had to walk 20 laps around the track to get their visors. They walked another 20 laps, all to say no to drugs.
It is good to start them young, definitely.
It is. That's the way to do it. That's it for this News Watch on Tuesday night. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the NBC Nightly News coming up.
And remember to watch us tonight at 8 o'clock for our hour-long election special, and at 11, a special 45-minute Super Tuesday Night Watch. Have a great evening.